Good morning, good afternoon, or good night. Today I kind of just wanted to talk about the idea that you're constantly growing even though you feel like you aren't. Growth isn't always loud and successful. I feel like most of the time, a lot of it is resting. I feel like a lot of people get really anxious when it comes to the time where they go through school and then they get summer break or March break or any sort of break, and they feel like they're not being productive, and they feel like they need to pick up something and force themselves to try and be growing constantly, and then that just ruins their break and they don't feel like they're enjoying it. It's because your mind is so used to the idea that you're like trying to improve and trying to have something to show for people. And a lot of the time, we don't really see results. And I feel like that kind of makes people worry about the future and worry about how they're using their time wisely. But that doesn't mean that things aren't changing inside, things aren't changing mentally, or, you can't be forcing yourself to keep doing these things even though you don't have time to rest, you don't have time to think, you're just pushing to the next thing, and this is why people, I feel like, don't live in the present and just keep going in the future, and then they worry so much about growth that they end up ruining that growth. They're not allowing themselves to rest and relax and enjoy something like a break. What made me want to make this video is that I had a call with someone, and they were talking about their life and how they are on summer break now and they don't have class until September. And they had a really positive mindset, and I kind of wanted to share it in today's video because when I talked to them, they said that they don't really have anything going on in life. They kind of they have the school going for them, but as soon as school stops going, they feel like they're missing the friends that they hang out at school and stuff like that. But the difference is that he's okay with it. He understands that he's having a break, and he lives day by day. He doesn't feel like he's in a loop or anything. He just enjoys watching videos and relaxing, and doesn't force anything, like going out with friends if he doesn't want to. He does things for him, and I think that's a very positive outlook, and many people should look towards that mentality more, and I wanted to share it in today's video. Healing, growing, success, it's not always exciting or visible. You're a lot of the time, I think it's rest. It's these simple things like sleep and giving yourself a break and things like that. It really helps a ton. You might not feel strong, you might not feel like you're growing, but you've survived all the things that you thought were so difficult, that you thought maybe were impossible to get over. Whether it's trauma, whether it's school, whether it's work, deadlines, all that sorts of stuff. You managed to fight outside of the box and, and you successfully survived. That is growth, and that's something to be appreciated by. The fact that you're still fighting, the fact that you're still here, the fact that you're still working and you're still thinking about all these things, it just shows that you're growing, and you don't have to keep forcing yourself and getting yourself to a state where you're always tired. Take a breather and relax and be there for yourself for a minute, and just sit with the thought that, hey, I'm allowed to have a break right now. I'm allowed to sit with myself and be there for myself right now. And all these things of, feeling like you need to chase success, the doubt, the worry, feeling like you're not worthy of being tired, these are valid thoughts. I'm not disregarding those thoughts from you. I'm not saying that you're wrong for thinking of that. It's just you know, we're raised in an environment where we're pressured into this sort of success, and I don't blame you for thinking like that. I just want to inform you that it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to keep pushing yourself to the point where you're so tired, you're so exhausted, you know? Like, you should be there for yourself right now and try to mold your perspective to a point where you can be comfortable resting and thinking that that is growth, because it is. It just is. Trust every sort of little effort that you put into anything, because it's valid, it's growth, it's positive, it's a part of you. And point that out, you know, give yourself that little pat on the back that you're doing something, you know. Celebrate the little things, you know. For me, sometimes, like when I was going through really bad depression, it would be the simple things of getting up and taking a shower. Taking a shower, man, was the most progress. Like, it was the most recognizable thing that you could do in a state where you can't even do basic necessities, you know, like you can't fulfill your basic needs. And that period of time, I was really sad with myself, because I thought, like, hey, you're not going to work, you're not doing this, you're like, I felt awful, you know. But then I realized that that's a part of growth, you know. It wouldn't be any different if I got into like a car accident or something and I was forced into a hospital bed. Imagine being in a hospital bed and forcing those thoughts of being like, oh, I need to go to work right now. No, you don't. Your body is broken. You need to relax. It's the same with depression. It's the same with that anxiety. You need to be able to recognize that and not only do something when it's so far gone, you know what I mean? Every step you take, every single step you take, whether it's forwards, backwards, it needs recognition. It needs to be recognized as growth, because growth isn't linear. It's just as simple as that. You can't always be on the up, you know what I mean? You need to realize that there's setbacks, and setbacks aren't rest, you know? Rest is a part of that growth. And I just wanted to remind you of that today. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope this resonated with you positively, and I want to know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I appreciate your time with me. Thanks for watching. Thank you.